Welcome, guys and gals. This is your host, Frog Prince Rana, and thank you for dropping by. This is not a debunk video. After over 45 flat earth debunking videos, I think it is time to expose some of the known flat earthers. My issue simply is this. Seems like they like to throw various theories at the wall and see which one sticks. Over time, they show their lack of understanding or even the willingness to learn. But soon enough, they would just delete their video and start anew, brainwashing people as if nothing has happened. Let's get something out of the way first. We all make mistakes, some more than others. I was married once, but that being said, there is a difference between a gaffe and lack of knowledge. On one of my videos on the screen, the formula says Act 10. Now, what the heck is an Act 10, you ask? Well, I don't know. And yes, I personally typed it in. On another video talking about VPN and security, I might have implicitly implied that SSL can stop man-in-the-middle attack. Though faking a certificate is next to impossible, it is possible for someone with enough resources like a government entity to try such thing. And then I had to add that in the video description. And I'm sure there are many more errors. Even 2 days ago, my little one asked me if platypus lays egg. Now I remember those things to be mammal, and my answer was, well, they are mammals, so I would guess they do not lay egg. Yes, I'm a stupid dad who has very little knowledge on biology, so I don't talk about it. Yes, platypus are mammal, and mammals are animals that breastfeed and nothing to do with egg. Silly me. But even then, I did qualify saying I would guess. To me, these kind of errors are blunders rather than not understanding or lack of knowledge. These are obviously my opinion, and that is all. To be able to debunk or argue against something, one needs the very basic understanding.
You know what's confusing to me is you're wearing skulls and a bindi.
A what?
Do you know what a bindi is?
Yeah, I totally know what a bindi is.
You're a yogi from India. I'd imagine you'd know what a bindi is.
I do know what it is.
Point to your bindi.
If someone cannot add up 2 plus 2, what credibility do they have when it comes to discussing math? What valuable insight can one have without any knowledge of the matter at hand? And yes, reality is complicated in a way, and yet beautiful. The more you look into it, the more intricate details you get to know, the more you realize how complex the whole system is. From simply stating Earth's rotation and orbit to actual orbital formula is a big jump. So my set qualifications for flat earther stupidity? Well, it has to be something extremely basic regarding the topic they're talking about. Something maybe a 6th grader would know. So no diffraction. Yes, Nathan Oakley, you're off the hook for this one. In this video, I have 7 such flat earthers. Yes, out of all the stupid things they say, these are the ones that made my list. Now for all those flat earthers that didn't make it in this video, if you have any suggestions, please put them down in comments for part 2. That being said, and this list being alphabetical, let's start with Adam Ife, or better known as Level Earth Observer. He has appeared on my video and is a big fan of Ad Hom Attack. So let's see his stupidity.
This video is called Google Earth Proves Flat Earth, strangely enough. Okay, going on a cycle ride. The reason I choose cycle ride on Google Earth or Google Maps is because it gives me the elevation, which is what those figures are. Ooh, come out. Not focusing properly. I'll show you that in a minute anyway. There we are, focusing better. But point being, I've gone on a 600-mile journey, 601 miles from Weymouth to Aberdeen. That's some cycle ride. 601 miles. Now, let's have a look at what we should be looking at. Curvature, Ebbs curve. 600 miles. Let's say 500. Wow, 31 miles of curve, is that? Yeah. 31 miles, 500 miles. We're giving them the benefit of doubt here over 101 miles. But yeah, 500 miles, 31 miles a curve. That's what we should be looking at. Okay, so where are we at here? What we're actually getting is, let's have a look, what's the difference? On the journey, elevation is, I go up 16,322 feet. I come down 16,312 feet. Wow, difference of 10 feet. 10 feet of difference.
With a video titled Google Earth Proves Flat Earth, one would assume he has some understanding of what elevation is. When we talk about elevation of something, we generally measure it from sea level. So Blackpool, being at sea level, has an elevation of 5 meters above sea level, whereas Leeds, where I live, has a highest point of 340 meters with a distance of 144 kilometers from Blackpool. If we pick another seaside town, this time to my other side, Scarborough. This town lies between 3 to 70 meters and about 255 kilometers away from Blackpool. So what elevation has to do with distance is anyone's guess. Next we have Anthony Riley, also known as Sleeping Warrior. Well, one can make a whole-length documentary with all the stupid things he said, and it was quite hard to pick one. Finally, it was this or the bet on solar eclipse, but this one easily won.
Anthony, if a triangle has the sides 1, 1, and 1, do you know what the angles of the triangle are?
Which kind of triangle are you on about? Are you on about like a right angle triangle?
The triangle has sides 1, 1, and 1. Do you know what the angles are?
The angles would be... Well, it would be an equilateral triangle, wouldn't it?
Right, so what are the angles? Now I'm going to ask this again. If you have a triangle with sides of 1, 1, and 1, what are the angles?
I'm gonna pull up a triangle calculator.
Let's do this again. Anthony, a triangle has sides 1, 1, and 1. What are the angles? Is somebody recording this? Because this is just priceless.
Well, the one I'm using it's not giving me any when I do it. So either this calculator is wrong or you're wrong.
We have a triangle with sides of 1, 1, and what are the angles?
Yeah, so that's an equilateral triangle, right?
Right, so what are the angles?
Does that work on a right angle triangle?
The sides are 1, 1, and 1. What are the angles?
When is that ever used in astronomical calculations for measuring trig?
I'm not going to tell you that until you answer my question. The triangle has sides...
It's not relevant. We use right angle triangles to calculate the distance things, correct?
We don't even need to use right angle triangles.
What you're describing only works with an equilateral.
Anthony, the fact that you can't answer these simple math questions, crap you, is ridiculous.
Why can't you just apply it to right angle triangles?
Fine, 3, 4, 5. That's a right angle.
How do you know it's a right angle triangle?
Because 3, 4, 5 triangles are right angle.
So
because it physically is. There's no other triangle it can be.
All right. Well, I don't know that's true, so I want to test it. How do I test it?
Okay, so for the other people playing at home, maybe you can answer these questions while Riley's trying. You have a triangle with sides 1, 1, and 1. What are the angles?
60, 60, 60.
60, 60, and 60. I heard somebody whisper. You're correct. Now, if you have a triangle with sides 2, 2, and 2, what are the angles?
Let's give Anthony a chance to respond.
Well, this is irrelevant. I've already stated my position.
No, it's not. Your inability to do math is totally
triangles. We don't use equilateral triangles to calculate the distances and stuff. We use right angle triangles.
I think the issue here, Sleeping Warrior Anthony, is that you don't know how to do any of this math.
Lewis's point was that
my point was that you do not know how to do this math. That was my point. That Anthony Riley, do not know how to do this math.
Now, how does that apply to astronomical features in the sky?
It doesn't.
Right.
It applies to you not having a clue what you're talking about and being extremely confident when you talk, regardless.
Well, that doesn't change the fact that you don't know any of the distances, or in this case, the ISS, the distance to the ISS.
And that doesn't change the fact that you don't know what you're talking about ever.
I have nothing to add. My little one is 11 and she knows the answer to all those questions. Anthony, I was under the impression you're from Wigan. I used to work there back in 97-98. They do have schools. You did go to school, right? In all seriousness, someone without this basic understanding of trigonometry shouldn't ever talk about trigonometry. Next is Cleary from YouTube with his own map of the Earth.
Well, I've created my map. My distances are correct. And my continent sizes, well, my country sizes are all correct in proportion to one another. But what I learned is this world is not what you think it is. No. Not at all. What you're looking at here is half of what you think the Earth is. That's why it's called the East, the Far East, the Middle East, and the West. Because the sun comes in from the east along the what we call an equator, comes up around as it goes west, which is kind of north, shoots out over the Pacific Ocean, and then takes a quick loop back. I'm not sure if it's if it's on an analemma or if it just goes out there and accelerates really fast and comes back around. Anything like that would be speculation, but it's interesting. But I gotta put this thing together a little bit better. I was just kind of excited about what I discovered there. It's pretty interesting.
Again, I'm talking about stupidity in the context of the presentation. I have no problem with not knowing where all the countries of the world are. I'm one of those who can't place many countries. The best would be, oh, it's around there somewhere. But if I'm making a map of the world, well, it better not be missing any countries. And Taiwan is called Taiwan with not the fake 9- line. This part of the world is somewhere I have trekked around a lot. Now, if those grey and white area means no land, then this guy completely got rid of Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Nepal, Bhutan, and I'm 100% sure that Tanzania and Kenya is not above Bangladesh, and Malaysia and Indonesia is not where they should be from missing Bangladesh. So, does this stupidity qualify? Yes, I think so. Now we have Professor Kyle Adams. Now I seriously hope that he is a professor in some Christian church and not in a real school or such. I have came across and debunked a couple of his videos. Links in description. Here is my favorite.
Well, here's our compass on a globe. Does that look like it's pointing north to you?
No. That looks like it's pointing to outer space. I've never really thought about it like that before.
So, what happens when we move our person even farther south into Antarctica? Does that look like it's pointing north?
No, it looks even farther away from north.
If compasses were to point at the magnetic North Pole from anywhere outside the Arctic Circle, a compass would have to point at the ground in order to do so due to the curvature of the Earth.
Hey, I don't have to comment on every stupidity. Moving on to Nathan Oakley. When you mix supreme ignorance with supreme confidence, the result is Mr. Oakley. He gets supremely annoyed when someone asks him about diffraction, but I would have thought he would be more annoyed with units.
with the maths that goes along with it.
Nathan, question. You ready? How do you convert meters into kilometers?
I don't know. How do you convert meters into kilometers?
What's the correct way?
You tell me.
The correct way is divide meters by 1,000. You didn't do that.
So if you have a meter and I divide that meter by 1,000, you don't think that would give you millimeters?
Meters into kilometers, Nathan.
You just said
That's
you
what I'm
divide
talking
meters by 1,000 to get kilometers. So you're saying I divide something that is 1 meter long by 1,000, and that will come out to a kilometer value.
Nathan,
it sounds
let's
like you are quite
track.
literally retarded
Let's
with that
keep
statement.
on track.
You do not divide
Let's
meters
keep on track.
to come out with kilometers.
Why did Chris Monk multiply meters by 10,000 when he should have divided them by 1,000?
Sorry, did you just do it again? Did you just say that you divide a number that is in meters to come up with a value in kilometers? Is that what you are now asserting for a second
correct.
time?
Why did Chris Monk multiply meters by 10,000 when he should have divided by 1,000?
Why would you divide a value that is given in meters to come up with something larger, i.e. kilo, meaning
Because,
thousands?
Nathan, because the thing you don't understand is that it's a ratio. Did you do maths at school?
Yeah, I'll ask you a third time. Why would you divide a meter value when trying to come up with a larger value? Dividing something makes it smaller.
Oh dear. There's no
Oh
hope
dear?
for you.
Sorry, what do you mean, oh dear? That's not an answer. Why would you divide something to make it bigger?
I've already explained. Are you not
No, you
listening?
haven't. Oh, I'm yet to get an answer. We have a value in meters. You're saying I divide that value to make it larger into kilometers, a larger number.
It depends on the value, Nate. If it's less than 1, if you divide a number that would be less than 1, like 0.6, that will give you an increase.
Oh, why'd you give him the answer? I was hoping that Alan would eventually get there or not get there, as the case may be.
I'm already there. I'm just letting
Why didn't you say it then, Alan?
dig a rather large hole. Perhaps you could dig a large hole,
Never gonna get there.
divide that by 1,000 and then jump in.
I have nothing to add except my 11 years old knows how to do it. She doesn't know pico, femto and such yet, but that is just a matter of time. Next we have another Nathan, but a Thompson this time. Well, he's known for his silly flyer, which I have debunked over 10 videos. Well, brace yourself when Nathan faces baldy cats.
Right, now here, and I've modelled what happens. So I'm not suggesting that Polaris is 64 kilometres away for anyone who's in the chat or anything like that. But what I've done is I've taken two pictures that are 111.3 kilometres apart and 1 degree apart. And what we can see here is that what we call the opposite. Do you know what I mean when I say the opposite, Nathan?
Yeah, I've heard the word opposite once or twice.
Because we're going to look at something, trigonometry here. Can you just explain to me, just so I know that I don't need to explain to you, how you would calculate the opposite in those triangles, please?
The opposite
How
angle?
would you calculate? No, the opposite. It's what I've circled in red. How would you calculate that distance using trigonometry? How would you do it, Nathan?
Are you assuming we can triangulate distances to the sun?
No, I'm saying pretend it's a maths test. Let's pretend that you've got the angle that I've given you and that you've got that distance on the blue line that I've given you. And all I'm asking is, forget the Earth, forget Polaris, forget anything like that. Treat it as a maths question because I want you to know the significance of what's about to happen. How would you calculate the distance to Polaris there? How is your trigonometry? Can you do it? And by the way, trigonometry is something we teach to 12-year-old children in England. I'm just pointing that out. Can you calculate that distance? How would you calculate it, Nathan?
I mean, so your argument is that the north. I personally can't calculate that. I don't work in kilometers. I normally work in miles. And the distance to Polaris, I have to see your measurement. I'd have to see your measurements for the distance to Polaris. Is that what you're trying to show?
Essentially, I'm doing this for the people in the chat and the people who follow you, because the people who follow you understand basic trigonometry. This isn't about convincing you. It's about showing everybody in the chat Not only do you not understand entropy, not only do you not understand thermodynamics, not only do you not understand pressure, but now you are showing 4,000 people that you don't understand basic trigonometry that 11-year-old kids do in school. And yet you are still running an internet group telling people that the earth is flat when your ignorance is on display. And I don't want you to say that personally, because I'm saying this with people who are considering listening to you. I've got to make it clear to them so they can, because they'll understand trigonometry. They'll have done it when they were 11-year-olds, Nathan.
Now in my videos, I do hammer the fact that I'm an old guy. And I even forget Sakatoa, which is almost defeats the purpose. That simple word, Sa-ka-toa, is a simple mnemonic aid to remember. Sa is sine equals opposite divided by hypotenuse. Ka is cosine equals adjacent divided by hypotenuse. And toa is tangent equals opposite divided by adjacent. So answer to Baldicat's question, well, it is tan value of angle times adjacent. But that is not really the issue here, is it? It is blaming the values being in a different unit. So even if the given adjacent was 226.6 unicorn fert and the angle is 29 degree, opposite would be 123.3 unicorn fert. Flat earther, please never use that excuse. That is probably dumber than not knowing angles of a triangle. Final flat earther on this video, we have Pastor Dowell.
Now with that said, if the sun is all these millions of miles away from us, listen to me very closely. If the sun is all these millions of miles away from us, and between Earth and the sun, space is black. I mean really black. It is really dark. How in the hell the sun that is so dang bright, how does it skip past all that blackness, all that darkness out in outer space, but then it shines on us right here on the earth? But it skips all the space now. it just don't make sense.
I think these pastors have something in common. I have no rebuttal to their statement. It is truly a facepalm moment with an honest inquiry on if they're serious about what they just said. Did they comprehend the words that came out of their mouth? I guess not. Well, let's try the silly example because it is a silly claim. If I take a candle to dark places, it illuminates that area. That statement does have a religious ring to it, right? Well, sun's intensity is around the same as 3 octillion lit candles. What is an octillion? An octillion equals to 1 followed by 27 zeros. That is equal to a billion, billions, which is impossible even to comprehend. It is a number so large that most people haven't even heard of it, and there is a completely good reason why. It is ridiculously huge. Distance to sun is only 490.8 billion feet. So Pastor, if a candle can illuminate something 1 feet away, 3 billions candle can surely light something only 490.8 billion feet away. Yes, it is supposed to be taken as a joke. I am aware of inverse square law of light. Well, those were the first batch of flat earthers for this video. So next time, any of these people making any claim, we can all confirm if they at least have the basic grasp of what they are talking about. Here is where I'll end this video. If you have clips that you think should be on the next part, please add it in comments. Thank you for watching and sticking till the end. If you have enjoyed this content, well, like, comment, share and such. Most of my videos are debunking bad science, so if you're into those, you may want to check my channel out. And if you can also subscribe, that would definitely help my little channel grow. It doesn't really cost you anything. Thank you once again. Wherever you are, have a safe day. Signing off.
1D.